figments. Blackwood Academy was an institution defined by its technology, specifically the ubiquitous Aura Lens 7 system installed over the summer via a huge technology grant. Marketed as an advanced learning tool, the Aura Lens frames cost around $2,000, and Charlie knew the difference between his scraped-up backpack and the sleek, ballistic nylon bags of his peers. Though the school was mixed wealth and a free program existed, Charlie's feckless parents hadn't lifted a finger to help him apply. Therefore, he was an outsider, reliant only on the traditional learning tools, focused on his worn textbooks while ignoring the floating infographics only his classmates could see. They didn't even have to take notes. The glasses transcribed everything for access later. His home route was the long way, avoiding the manicured lanes where the wealthy students lived, instead cutting through the damp graffiti street tunnels beneath the elevated rail line. The light here was perpetual twilight. It smelled of a must and stagnant water scent. It was the fastest way. Deeper in the tunnel's twilight, a figure waited near the exit. The man was an anomaly, a blot of perfect stillness in the vibrating urban blue. His clothes were the color of forgotten smoke, charcoal coat, long and heavy, even in the warm evening air. Charlie couldn't quite make out his face. It was an exercise in frustration, like trying to recall the details of a dream he knew was important but was slipping away. Every time Charlie tried to focus on the man's features, his gaze slid to the side, snagging instead on the deep shadow pulled beneath the brim of his wide, flat hat. The man moved with deliberate confidence, gliding toward Charlie, as if his heavy charcoal coat contained no weight, as if his feet never quite touched the ground. "You look like a boy who sees things the way they are," the voice rasped, soft as sandpaper. "Things others overlook." He then held out a pair of glasses. They were identical to the Aura Lens 7 frames, the exact brushed titanium model favored by Blackwood Elite, right down to the subtle logo etched near the hinge. "These are yours," the man said. "A gift, no charge, no catch." He paused, leaning close enough for Charlie to smell something like ozone and sulfur. "These will help you through school." Charlie was poor. He was tired of being different. The thought of walking into Blackwood tomorrow, finally looking like everyone else, was overwhelming. Against every instinct to decline, he took the glasses. The man didn't wait for a thank you. He simply dissolved into the background, leaving Charlie alone with the impossible gift. The next morning, the Aura Lens 7 felt cold and light against the bridge of his nose. For the first few days, Blackwood was perfect. The interface layered crisp, helpful data over the reality. Class schedules floated cleanly in his periphery. The gym's floor plan highlighted to the fastest route to get to the lockers. Charlie finally felt the easy confidence his peers radiated, moving through the school like a native rather than a visitor. The change began small. In AP Biology, when the teacher projected a diagram of the human cell onto the whiteboard, every student saw clear, labeled organelles. With his new glasses, however, the nucleus glowed with a faint, aggressive red hue. Charlie asked the teacher why it was glowing, and the other students were confused. Some even laughed. Finn, however, looked at Charlie with an intensity Charlie hadn't seen before. Later, walking past the water fountain, he saw a sliver of distortion in the marble tile, a momentary rip in the clean, polished surface that vanished when he blinked. Once, looking down the main staircase, the white walls seemed to pulse with a faint greenish luminescence, like something vast and submerged was breathing behind the paint. The Aura Lens system, which displayed floating advertisements for tutoring services, sometimes flashed a fraction of a second too slow, leaving behind the ghost of a foreign symbol, sharp and angular, before correcting itself. These odd anomalies intensified each day. The subtle flaws were now bleeding into the environment. He stared at the cafeteria's ceiling, a vast, perfect expanse, and for a heart-stomping moment, he didn't see the tile and steel. He saw a lattice of black, fibrous material, wet and organic, pulsing slightly as if regulating a hidden pressure. But the vision snapped away the instant his breath hitched. He had to be losing it. He needed a logical explanation for these escalating malfunctions. Miss Albright, the history teacher, was the next subject of his focus. She was subtly different. Her eyes, not the pupils, but the whites, were threaded with a fine silver line, like cracked porcelain. They pulsed faintly when she talked about the structure of stable empires. Then he looked at the student 2 desks over, a quiet, intense girl named Chloe. Above her head, the glasses displayed a single throbbing metric: vitality yield, 17%. This horrifying realization crystallized the truth. The man had promised he would see the game. Charlie couldn't yet grasp the whole shape of the horror, but the shimmering surface of Blackwood was a holographic shroud over a darker reality. He was witnessing some sort of mechanism for stealing from those who had vitality yields, systematically sucking the freedom of choice and rebellious spirit out of the others. The whole institution felt less like an academy and more like a carefully calibrated farm. Paranoia became Charlie's constant companion. He moved through the halls with the glasses perpetually on, monitoring the percentage numbers dropping above his peers' heads. He had to tell someone. He sought out Finn, trusting him with the insanity he couldn't prove. Finn listened without interrupting. He didn't laugh. He didn't suggest therapy. He was quiet, absorbing the story about the Shadow Man, the glowing organelles, and the percentage meters dropping. He even dragged Finn to the bathroom and looked at himself in the mirror. His own vitality bar was at 105%. What does this mean? Charlie thought. Finn was logical, sharp, and most importantly resourceful. Look, I can't see it, Finn admitted, running a hand through his expensive, perfectly cut hair. But I believe you believe it. Therefore, we fight on your terms. Though, Charlie, are you absolutely sure you didn't just overload your frames? Charlie felt a momentary chill, but Finn quickly shifted the focus. Finn took the lead, his privilege finally being used for something useful. He insisted Charlie's initial frantic ideas about hacking the glasses were too complex, and the suggestion to warn the school was too overt. We need something reliable, a clean circuit. Finn argued, his tone firm, shutting down further discussion. Instead, Finn steered their focus toward the building's physical vulnerability. He insisted that their plan be low-tech and physical, a desperate gamble based on simple electricity and the school's new powered substation. It had to work. Finn, citing his father's vague board meeting, talked about the grant, providing the technical drawings and the access card. The plan was fixed: trigger a campus-wide blackout to strip the digital camouflage from the school. But the otherworldly creatures were not passive. It felt like they knew. The sabotage began immediately. The silver-eyed geometry teacher, Mr. Theron, began watching Charlie in class with an unnerving, focused intensity. Charlie found his locker suddenly jammed one morning, forcing him to miss his class, tying him up in detention. Finn, suddenly cold, questioned the reliability of the 2 other students they had recruited, sowing doubt about their need for a team. Charlie dismissed the strange friction as the pressure getting to Finn, but the constant low-level obstacles left Charlie perpetually exhausted. The stakes rose with every strange sabotage. Charlie understood with a cold spike of dread. They weren't just passively feeding, they were also plotting against him. The plan was simple. Finn would use his keycard to access the electrical substation beneath the boiler room on Saturday night. Charlie would wait outside by the main ventilation grate, ready to confirm the shutdown. Success was dependent on the timing and physical action. Saturday night, the school was a silent monolithic tomb beneath a sickly yellow moon. Charlie, hidden behind a tall manicured hedge, felt the cold dread of exposure. He had the glasses on, monitoring the network status. Finn messaged, "I'm in the substation. Ready." Charlie's fingers trembled as he knelt down to the iron ventilation grate that led down to the substation, but the light stayed on. He heard the grinding sound of the emergency cutoff lever being pulled, but the campus lights remained steady, and the holographic camouflages didn't even flicker. Panic rose in Charlie's throat. He messaged Finn, "Did you cut it?" "Nothing happened." No response. He pressed his face against the cold metal of the grate. Down below, two figures were silhouetted against an ambient glow of the city's power lines. One was Finn. The other was tall, slender, and utterly alien, radiating a faint violet luminescence. The figure moved, and the violet light flared. Charlie watched as the alien entity shifted the perfect titanium frames of the aura lens, dissolving to reveal a face of sheer, liquid shadow. Its eyes vast, unblinking pools of silver mercury. The being was Mr. Theron. Charlie finally ripped the glasses from his face, dropping them to the damp grass. He explained everything to Finn, detailing the percentage yields, the silver eyes, the whole terrifying truth. Always removing the glasses to talk, always needing to see his friend's normal face. He realized the chilling, impossible truth. He never saw Finn without the lenses on. He slammed the glasses back onto his face. Above Finn's head, the metric was not vitality yield. It was labeled Resource Manager. As standing next to the silver-eyed teacher, Finn's aura lens sevens dissolved, revealing a face of pure structured light, a being too vast and complex to comprehend. Finn wasn't helping. He was the primary administrator. Finn's voice, now reaching Charlie through the phone's internal mic, was layered with a smooth, echoing drone that vibrated the bones in his skull. "We were always going to drain you, Charlie. You just saw the process too early." Finn laughed, a dry, unsettling sound. "Your energy, your ambition, your drive to break free. It's incredibly potent. We need you to try to escape. It makes the soul taste better." The institutions, Finn explained, were not about teaching. They were about misery. Misery, disappointment, and debt, keeping the human energy low and concentrated for easy harvest. The being shifted between dimensions using augmented reality tech as a permanent, shared doorway to the feed. Finn's task was to sabotage the uprising and deliver Charlie his prized high-yield resource. A sound not of the school, not of the city, filled the night. It was the collective groan of the whole building as the reality began to fray, the holographic camouflage stuttering and tearing. Charlie looked up. The manicured hedges, the concrete walls, even the sick yellow moon, all of it shimmered, revealing the underlying architecture of a vast, pulsing organic machine. He ran toward the place the man had found him, the only place where the veneer of reality had already begun to crack. Behind him, the substation door opened, but Finn didn't pursue. A single focused beam of mercury light shot from the ventilation grate, searing the grass where Charlie had stood for a moment before. Charlie kept the glasses on. He looked at the few cars speeding past on their highway, their windows tinted dark. He saw the same chilling silver thread in the driver's eyes. He looked at the shadows pooling in the tunnel entrance. He saw the unsettling charcoal coat of the strange man who had given him the gift. He was trapped. He could see the prison, but there was no exit. The metallic sound of pursuit was closer now, not from the school, but from the darkness of the tunnel itself, a rhythmic, inhuman clock ticking approaching. He heard the smooth, echoing voice in his ear one last time. cutting through the static. You're a high-yield resource, Charlie. It's time for the harvest. The glasses suddenly shorted out, flashing a final blinding burst of sickly yellow light, plunging Charlie into darkness. The rhythmic clicking of the shadow stopped right in front of him. A voice, raspy and familiar, sliced through the tunnel's stale air. "Don't panic, boy. The glasses only ever showed the truth." A cold calm washed over Charlie. "You see, hope is a cheap thing. Ambition is renewable. But to break someone down to absolute ruin and hopelessness, that is the finest vintage. Your soul is worth the trouble." A sharp pressure pressed against his temple. His inner light was violently extinguished. Then there was no Charlie left to feel anything at all. Become an initiate. Like, share, subscribe, comment, and join the circle.